Okay.
Hello.
Good Thursday morning. We are officially on Route 66 and we had a nice long sleep in today and a leisurely breakfast after yesterday's mad rush to get out here. We're going to be taking off here in a few minutes, starting down Route 66 and going to be filming all the fun stuff we see along the way, so stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye. We're coming up to the old Joliet prison. If you remember the film The Blues Brothers, this is where Jake was getting out and Elwood came to pick him up in the Bluesmobile. And that is the gate right there where they came up and got him. So the prison is now closed, but it is open to tour. So let's go in and see this puppy. I hope this next section comes out on the video, but it is the entrance to the prison grounds, and it says Old Joliet Prison. So I'm hoping that is visible on the video. So the prison goes back to a time when the prevailing thought was that architectural features will have an impact on prisoner rehabilitation. So this was done very, very elegantly. I hope this comes out well on the video. But this is the visitor center sign. Pretty creative. Okay, here in the scenic Joliet prison, Lynn has finally gotten a chance to meet Jake and Elwood. And she has promised me that sometime in the future she will watch the Blues Brothers movie so she actually knows what the hell I'm talking about. But she's a good sport. See, she is really getting into it. She has gotten back to her roots. 5'6". Yep, that is my little felon right there. Okay, so inside the Joliet Prison Visitor Center, they've got a lot of merch and a lot of great stuff here, and we got very, very interesting association here with this lady who works here is also a fellow improver.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but I am an appreciator of the art.
Yeah.
Yes, so Brad, if you ever get a chance to see this, you were right. We're all over.
Yes. The crowd is amazing.
Yes.
Just found an interesting discovery. This was not evident the last time I was here. There are Blues Brothers cons here at the prison. It's kind of, they see what happens, how many people are going to show up, how many people are interested, how much staff they have, but there are Blues Brothers cons here at the Joliet prison, so stick that in the back of your bucket list. Coming up to the infamous East Gate at the Joliet prison. This is the place where Elwood picked Jake up in the Bluesmobile, and it's where you go in to start the tour. So this is now officially a historic site on the National Register through the work of a lot of people. The prison was actually abandoned for many, many years. And so it was subject to some vandalism. Entering the prison, these first couple of buildings, the industries buildings, require a lot of preservation and rebuilding, so they're on the list for some time. But as you can see, they don't even have roofs anymore. But these were like the workshops and where people could learn a trade, I was told. Okay, we are coming up on the entrance to Death Row. This is gonna be a little disquieting for some people. It's never too late to mend. Okay, old plumbing fixtures. And let's see if we can look in a cell. There's one that's open. Over here. This is a death row cell in Joliet. No frills at all. Okay, when you see an entrance and bars like that going into the building, you pretty much know that you have not made some good life choices. Wow. That is just, I cannot imagine. There's a little more light coming into to death row from here, so I can get a nice shot down the death row cell block.
When we came here, we were also instructed by staff to be very careful. It's an active construction site, and we need to be aware of what's going on around us to stay safe. Also, they want people to be careful because if you walk into a cell and shut the door, there's no key necessarily to get you out, and you'd end up being there for a very long time. So there's a lot that you need to be aware of before you come and be safe. But have fun and take a look at what's around you when you visit.
And she also told us, like with most other warning labels, they give you this warning because guess what somebody has done in the past?
They've gotten themselves locked in a cell.
Yes, and there's no refunds for that. Okay, let's go look at a cell block. We were just told that these things over here are the original grievance boxes. Legally, there had to be a way for the inmates to communicate their problems with conditions of the staff to the prison administration. And so they would write it and stick it in these grievance boxes. So this side of the prison,
Like solitary confinement.
yeah, these look more like facilities for inmates that were more of a problem than the general population. Look at these big old heavy doors and little slots to pass stuff. These are particularly Spartan. So I guess if you wanted to be a problem child, they were ready for you. Here's a door with the things open. That looks like the little slot where they would pass your meal tray, and the little thing they could open up, was a window with wire mesh so they can't punch through it and strangle you, and a little slot here where voice can pass. So yeah, this does not look like a place that anybody would want to come to, but making good decisions in life didn't get you in here in the first place.
Conducts it, so.
Yep. So this looks like the guard station. Again, lots of bars. Lots of big, heavy bars. So on the other side of the east, or of this cell block, is the cells for the more routine prisoners. There's Lynn finding her new home, her new place in life.
No, thank you.
Again, these are pretty Spartan facilities. That's probably an understatement.
Is it filming? Yes, it is.
They framed me, I tell you, they framed me. That's right, Mumsy, they got me.
You look so very cute.
Okay, so this is the cell block on the other side of the administration building. And this is the one I remember seeing on my last trip here to Joliet. A little bit different than the other one. Still got the original, everybody gets their own key to their cell type of locks. And it had a much easier to see second tier of cells. What is really new is they've got these lights in here now, which they didn't have the first time I came in here, and it definitely gave it a much more spooky feel to it. Yeah, I said that if you're here and Rod Serling walked out of one of the open cells smoking a cigarette and saying this part of the prison tour is in a special section located in the Twilight Zone, it would not have surprised me. With the lights here, that sensation, that sense is largely eliminated. You can see the second floor cells a lot clearer, that there's more light. That about finishes up the Joliet prison walking tour we did. Like I said, they are working on a lot of stuff here. And you can see the industrial section. They're actually calling this the burn zone because from what we've seen, a lot of this caught on fire at some point. I guess when the facility was abandoned before the foundation took it over. So we are on to the next thing, whatever that is. And walking out of the prison, we come to that famous gate. If you remember the beginning of the Blues Brothers film, this is the famous gate. So, as I said this morning, today is just, we are going to cruise along at a very comfortable rate of speed, no rush. Something catches our eye, we're going to stop and we're going to investigate if it looks interesting. So Route 66 coming through this area is basically cobbled together out of a lot of streets. Like go 2 miles on this street, then 0.3 of a mile on this street, take another left. And that's what we've been following, is the Route 66 historic 66 Illinois signs. And then we saw this and decided, what the hell, let's stop and look. Can you press the button?
Travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to Raleigh, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route 66.
See, and we're here. Okay, and on the other side of the sign is historic information about Route 66 in Joliet. So across the street we noticed is the Joliet 66 Museum. So we're gonna cross over and take a look at that now. So again, the Blues Brothers film figures heavily in here, and some classic cars, and it's like, where do you charge your cell phone on those things? And going back to the days when an engine was something the average person could understand. And I almost missed it, but you can see the stairs are painted in celebration of the centennial, first 100 years of Route 66. Flashing back, it's an aerial view of the Joliet prison that we were just at from 1931. And you can identify some of the places we were at, you know, inside the yard there. And over here is a picture of John Belushi with a group of prisoners from when they were filming the Blues Brothers. They were telling us that, you know, a bunch of guys would want to get a picture with them, and he'd say, sure, come on over, and somebody would snap a picture. So, interesting little bit of history that I was totally clueless about is that there was a Joliet ammunition plant for the U.S. Army during the war. Arsenal produced tons of stuff. 1 million 8-inch shells for the Navy, 175,000 cluster bombs. And here's a bomb, hoping it's a replica or at least deactivated, from the Elwood Ordnance Plant, going to Langley Field. God, history geek me is totally geeking out right now. Remember that prison we saw was all made of stone? Guess where all that came from? The Joliet Stone Quarries. That is pretty damn impressive right there. One of the things in Illinois, you will see a lot of Route 66 markers along the road. You will get very spoiled by those, and warning, not all states mark the route as well as Illinois does. But like I said, especially through Illinois, Route 66 is cobbled together through a lot of streets that were there, and then they just happened to put them all together and say make it a U.S. highway. So that's just a heads up. Enjoy them while they're here in Illinois. Don't get surprised when you don't see that many in other states. And we stopped back at the Polka Dots for lunch today because we had thought about going to Joliet, to the prison this morning, and wanted to see it. So we figured, hey, we know a good place to stop for lunch, and I pulled in, and this is what I see in the parking lot. So if you have that special car guy in your life, or car gal, definitely bring him out here and let him see all the great old cars on Route 66. They look a whole hell of a lot better than that cube people drive these days. And yes, towns along 66 have signs up celebrating the centennial, and Pride in 66 has come back, and some of the roads, some of the streets are actually getting painted and marked. So this is a big thing. But here's another shot of the one-cell jail from the outside. You think it is pretty nice, folks coming through by train during the Depression, the hobos, and just want to be able to make some money and eat. And they gave them a place to stay. So coming through this part of Illinois, this is pretty much what Route 66 looks like. There's the main highway not far from here, and it parallels what 66 used to do. But along 66, there are still tons of great places that have been restored. Places like the old Miller, places like the old service station here, Standard Oil. And this is an old restored gas pump. Of course, I don't think Model A's had that big of a tank, but here it is, Standard Oil, back from the day. And the old garage. And yes, this is part of historic Route 66. So, like I said, it is about as full of Americana as you can get.
If hugging, I can't trade in your car for a Davenport Burma shave.
And there's going to be some coming up on my side. I need to pan out a little bit to get it.
She kissed her hairbrush by mistake. She thought it was her husband Jake. vermicelli.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey, so we made it as far as Pontiac, Illinois this afternoon. We decided to backtrack this morning and go see the Joliet prison, which is something that everybody should do. This is the prison where they filmed the Blues Brothers, the beginning scene where Jake gets out. And, the prison was closed down a few years after they filmed the movie, abandoned for a while. Then a group got the resources together to acquire control of it and start restoring it, but a lot of damage had been done. So it's in the slow recovery process of being restored. That being said, they have done a lot since I was here 3 years ago. So
They've done a lot of construction work and update work, but they're still working on the floors above and reinforcing where part of the floor fell through.
yeah, and they still have not identified all the keys to the cells. So when you go visit, don't play around and close the cell door on somebody. 50-50 shot they may or may not have a key, and you're going to have to pay a lot of money to get a locksmith out there.
Yeah. We also went back and to the Polka Dot to have another meal. It's that good. And we also stopped off at the Joliet Museum and saw a lot of things there.
It was interesting. When you go to the Joliet prison, it looks like a medieval castle, and it's all made from stone. Stone walls, stone buildings. Found out at the museum, all that stone was quarried locally, which was a huge surprise to me. They also have a lot of other really interesting exhibits about Joliet, the surrounding area, and the history. When we were at Polka Dots, there were a couple of people there who had brought their restored antique cars, so that was a big thrill. And these things were restored by people who just took their time, knew what they were doing, and did it right. So that was a really nice treat. Followed Route 66, all over. The Route 66 navigation app will take you around. It will, if you're going down 66 and there's a little something off to the side, it'll zig and zag you around that side so you have a chance to see it. In Gardner, there is a old 2-cell jail. And they've got an audio recording there. Press the button, it'll tell you the history. And apparently when people used to ride the trains, the old hobos, they come into a town and jump off the train and look for work. Well, they're wandering around the town. They've got no place to sleep. So the townspeople built this little 2-cell jail so they'd have a place to stay for the night, out of the weather. And so they wouldn't have to worry about where these people, might be breaking into their barn to sleep, and they surprise them at 2 a.m. and, something happens. And if they get drunk and get rowdy, they can just lock the door at the jail. So it was a pretty pragmatic solution. But then we got out here to the hotel, and like I had said, and I posted on the Route 66 planning forums on Facebook. When you're going, get the apps for Choice, IHG, Best Western. There's another one, I forget which one, but it's all the individual apps for the individual hotel chains. If you do something like you Google, you're getting tired, you Google motel near me, that's going to kick you through a third-party service who will get you a reservation, but they'll give you a $50 surcharge for their services. I found that out the hard way by paying $50, so I'm giving you some free advice here.
Something to save you.
Yes. Now, we did it today. Got this hotel here at the members rate, which is if you go online and you click this hotel's website, it's a bit more if you just do it that way. But if you go through the app and you're a member, you know, I got a much better price. So I was very happy about that. So we have got a lot of challenging editing to do tonight, and we're going to do our best to cobble this all together into something coherent for y'all.
Yes, but thank you for watching the video.